Welcome to Noob-Splaining. My name is Wolf. If this is your first time here, this is where I explain the totally over-the-top world that nerds like me love so much, that is the Warhammer 40,000 universe. So click that subscribe button, settle in, and prepare for a Noob-Splaining session. Right, let's get on with this video. So this week we're going to be taking a look at what is arguably the most powerful fighting force in the whole of the 40k universe. I am of course referring to the Titans of the Adeptus Mechanicus. Officially there are 16 different classes of Titan, but most have never had a model and have just been discussed in various books and bits of lore. The first game to feature Titans was Adeptus Titanicus, the original one way back in the days of the epic scale series of games, as Titans are far too big for a normal 40k battlefield. But that didn't stop Games Workshop's specialist manufacturing arm, Forge World, making a few 40 scale ones for ridiculous amounts of money. The body alone for the biggest one they do is just short of $2,000, and then you need to buy its head and its weapons, so you're looking at over $3,000. Back in the days of Epic though, there was just 4 main Titan classes, but since then we've had 2 new classes added to the model lineup when Adeptus Titanicus was remade and re-released a few years ago, because Games Workshop wants to sell us more models. What is a Titan? Simply put, a Titan is a huge bipedal walking combat platform ranging between 50 to 500 feet tall. Most have a hunched look, but all have big guns ranging from absolutely huge to I'm getting the fuck out of here. Each gun is designed to annihilate complete armies in seconds, and some even have melee weapons meant to rip through fortresses like they're made of tissue paper. When Titans walk, the ground shakes. Each Titan is piloted by a Princeps, who interfaces their mind directly with the machine, effectively making the Titan's body and weapons part of their own body. Each Princeps needs to be extremely strong-willed, as every Titan has a very powerful, aggressive, almost animalistic in nature machine spirit that the Princeps needs to dominate over, or it would just charge headlong at the enemy. All the descriptions of Titan machine spirits just make me think of a really fucking angry, big nasty Rottweiler. The Mechanicum often refer to Titan as god engines or god machines, and when you look at their potential destructive powers, you can see why. Titans never go to war alone. Due to their huge size and lack of speed, they generally need massed infantry and tanks to support them, to ensure the enemy doesn't sneak up and place lots of bombs on their legs. That's what the lore says anyway, but in the most recent Titanicus game it's just Titan on Titan action. And that happens a lot in the books too, but I suppose a sentence like, the Titan fired one of its mighty weapons and half a regiment ceased to exist, is nowhere near as exciting as 2 colossal war machines slugging it out with each other. The Warhound. The smallest of all the Titans at around 50 feet, and with its definitely animalistic looking head, which is probably where it's got its name from. Either that, or when they built the first Warhound, someone thought it having a dog looking face would be cute. It is sporting 2 Titan scout weapons. These fast moving little bastards work in packs of 2, to both scout and also to harass and draw bigger Titans into ambushes. Being the smallest of the Titans, they get 2 Titan scout weapons. Don't let scout weapon class fool you. These things can still deal enough firepower to deal with an entire 100 strong company of Space Marines. Due to their role as scouts or decoys, the Warhounds only have ranged weapons, and only have 4 to choose from. All have, as you would imagine, gloriously over-the-top names like the Vulcan Mega Bolter or the Turbo Laser Destructor. The Turbo Laser Destructor is also the only scout weapon that you will see on some of the bigger Titans. During the Siege of Terror in the Horus Heresy, Horus unleashed a squad of 10 of these things on the civilian population, and the sheer scale of damage they caused made the Imperium create rules to restrict them to working in pairs, because the bad guys follow laws and rules. I can't help but think someone watched the original RoboCop, saw they had 209 and won, I want one of them. The Reaver. Next up in terms of size is the Reaver class, standing at around 80 feet tall, and this is equipped with 3 Battle Titan weapons. 1 on each arm and 1 over its head/shoulders. The Reaver is the smallest of the battle class Titans, meaning its bigger size and larger reactor than the Warhound means it can have even more destructive weaponry. Being the smallest of the battle class Titans, you would think it was the most common, but in reality they are rare among the Titan legions, as it only takes a handful more resources to make its bigger brother, the Warlord Titan. And if a Forge World has the facilities to build a Reaver, it can build a Warlord, so why the fuck would you not go for the bigger option? Battle Titan's weapons, while not as over the top, still have names like the Gatling Blaster, Volcano Cannon, Hellstorm Cannon and Plasma Annihilator. I don't think I need to explain the weapons in any detail, the name gives you a good enough idea of what they do. The main difference between Warhounds and other battle line Titans is Warhounds is piloted by a single Princeps. In the battle line Titans, the Princeps needs the support of two Moderati. The Princeps, while in control of the whole machine, the Moderati aim and shoot the weapons at the targets the Princeps designates. They're basically trainee Princeps that act as gunners. If any Titan is to be armed with melee weapons, it is this Titan, the Reaver, as due to its manoeuvrability and speed, it can get in close bypassing the void shields of other Titans and then use its speed and manoeuvrability with the melee weapons to decimate its enemy. The Warlord. As you can see, somebody somewhere in the Mechanicum took a Reaver to the Titan's space gym, gave it some space steroids and made it spend extra time on its shoulder workouts. The results of this means the Warlord stands an impressive 110 feet tall and has weapon mounts for 4 Battle Titan weapons, 2 on each arm and 2 on each shoulder. Taking up only slightly more resources to make than a Reaver, the Warlord is the most common Titan that is seen in the Imperial Titan legions, both pre and post heresy. There is also a variant of this Titan called the Psi-Titan that is deployed against the greatest of greater demons. Think of the Psi-Titan as the Grey Knight version of a Titan, specifically made to fight demons. You can get a Warlord Titan in 40k scale, but only if you have like $3,000 laying around. It is in scale as well, as its head is bigger than most tanks in 40k, and its power fist bigger than some humans' actual hands, and the model itself being around 2 feet tall. At this point, you might have noticed a pattern, as the Titans are getting bigger, so do the amount of weapon hardpoints. The Warbringer Nemesis Titan. The Warbringer Titan stands between the Reaver and the Warlord in height. It is also one of the new models of Titans in terms of age in the real world. Introduced for the remake of the most recent version of the Adeptus Titanicus game, it kinda has 5 weapon hardpoints, but also doesn't. With all the other Titans, you can choose what you want to put on any of the hardpoints. Not so much with the Warbringer. You see, its 2 shoulder mounts are smaller anti-air or anti-infantry rapid-fire guns, and it always has to have that colossal quake cannon on its back. That cannon is the mother of all artillery guns. Its sheer size of the shell can break open a fortress, fell another Titan in a single shot, or if fired into the enemy, results in a large earthquake around the impact site, hence the name. As for the 2 arm weapon hardpoints, you can equip them with whatever the fuck you want. The Warmaster class Titan. The second of the new Titans added into the new Titanicus game. Standing taller than a Warlord at around 130 feet, and with some lore that feels like it was quickly brainstormed because everyone wanted to fuck off to the pub. It has 2 arm hardpoints that you can equip one of 2 big fucking guns. It also has a rocket launcher that fires the equivalent of ICBMs hidden under its carapace, and also 2 turbo laser destructors, as well as plenty of anti-air weaponry on the shoulders of its carapace. Both of the new Titans are the only ones to feature this anti-air weaponry, and this all hints that Games Workshop were planning on merging the Adeptus Titanicus game and the fighter plane based game called Aeronauticus. This hasn't happened yet though, so it's either been canned or is still in development. Anyway, yes, it's lore. The fact this was called a Warmaster when that name is synonymous with treachery and traitors made me raise an eyebrow. The idea being one of the Forge Worlds were in secret working on this variation of Titan that is meant to have the firepower of an Emperor class in a body the size of a Warlord class and to be named after the Warmaster in honour of him. Then the Warmaster Horus went rogue, and now this Forge World is sat on some new Titans that are now very unfortunately named. Before they could do anything about it though, the traitor forces attacked the Forge World, and just before the manufacturing facilities making them are about to fall into the hands of the traitors, a single Warmaster Titan kicked open the factory's door and strode out to war, yelling something on the lines of "Here I come bitches, you better be fucking ready," and saved the day by murdering all the bad guys. The Warmaster class also has the Iconoclast version, which swaps its big fucking guns for a big fucking chainsword and a big fucking drill, meant for fucking up fortresses or other Titans respectively. The Emperor class Titan. It is from this version of Titans they got the name God Engines. That's because the Emperor class is the biggest of them all, standing just short of 500 feet. The Emperor class Titan comes in 2 variants, the Imperator and the Warmonger. The Imperator is a long-range, general-purpose assault class of Titan. The Warmonger is a long-range fire support class Titan, the difference being the Warmonger is slightly more accurate and designed to take down other Titans, whereas the Imperator is designed to obliterate entire legions and the entire fucking continent they were stood on. They both only have 2 arm hardpoints for weapons and don't take the usual Battle Titan weapons because, well, they're too small. Instead, they are armed with a variation of the weaponry from the Imperial Navy's space battleships. Emperor Titans do not use melee weapons, as they are just too fucking slow and cumbersome to use them effectively. Instead of shoulder mounted weapons though, it gets an entire fucking cathedral, complete with stained glass windows and a metric foot-ton of artillery pieces and other guns. I don't know how much it would cost to replace all that glass after each battle, so surely stained armour plating would make more sense. But then, this is 40k. It's a 500 foot tall walking cathedral that's packing more firepower than an entire chapter of Space Marines. It's not supposed to make sense, it's supposed to be over the top. Also, you see how its legs look like fortresses? They are. Each of its leg is big enough to hold an entire legion of Imperial Guard and mechanical forces complete with tanks. So it's actually a 500 foot walking cathedral with 2 fortresses full of soldiers for legs and enough firepower to make a Death Star feel impotent. Castigator class. I have to mention this even though there was only ever one. The Castigator class is a perfectly upright, humanoid shaped Titan, taller than an Emperor class and packing even more firepower. It was the only Titan built by an STC, and all other Titans are crude, weaker attempts to copy it. It is also the only Titan that was controlled by its machine spirit, which was a full-on AI. Needless to say, with it being an AI, it made a deal with Chaos, let itself be possessed by a demon, and was eventually destroyed by the Grey Knights, along with its instruction manual, so there can never be another one made. The Titan Legions. Prior to the Horus Heresy, the Titan Legions were not only a sight to behold, they were the preeminent fighting force in the whole of the 40k universe. Even more powerful than the vaunted Space Marine Legions, some of which had over 200,000 Marines, along with all the heavy tanks. But back then, a Titan Legion's hangar bay had space for over 100 Titans, around 80 of which would be the Warlord class. Each legion would have had at least 1 Emperor class, and the best of the legions would have had 4 or more Emperor class. Since the penultimate battle of the Horus Heresy, the battle for the Beta Garmin cluster, which became known as Titan Death, as it is said that over 90% of the Titans of both sides were destroyed over the many theatres of war across the planets of that system. Although technically, the Beta Garmin campaign was a victory on paper for Horus, as the Loyalist forces were finally forced to retreat with what few tanks, Titans, Guardsmen and Space Marines survived, it was never meant to be a war they could win. Rogel Dorn, Primarch of the Imperial Fist, and was in charge of defence of the Emperor's Palace, sent every Titan and non-Space Marine Legion he could lay his hands on to that system with 2 main goals. Destroy as much of Horus's Titans as possible so he could not bring them to terror, and hold off Horus's forces long enough so that the Space Marines of either the Blood Angels, Ultramarines or Dark Angels could make it to the Imperial Palace. With luck, one of those legions would arrive in the Beta Garmin system in time to turn the tables in their favour. Turns out 2 legions arrived, the Blood Angels and the White Scars, but the presence of these 2 legions was enough to turn the tables, but only from a complete loss to a very costly stalemate for both sides. As this campaign did achieve its 2 main goals, it was technically a success for Rogel Dorn and the Loyalists, but when your best plan is to make your enemy lose just as many war machines as you did, this was more a move of desperation than decapitation. These days, the Titan Legions are a sad broken shadow of what they used to be. The Horus Heresy didn't just shatter most of humanity, it pushed it back 5,000 years and destroyed any chances it ever had of recovering. Just having 2 battle titans these days is enough to call yourself a legion, and even the biggest legions consist of just a mere handful of Warlords, Reavers and a few Warhound Sky Titans, compared to the hundreds plus that was the minimum. The remaining Emperor class Titans are barely into double digits, and what few are left are deployed, one at each major forge world to protect it, these days only ever going into war if there is both dire need and there is enough troops to ensure its victory, as the Imperium can no longer afford to lose a single one of these behemoths. As for the hangars of the Titan legions of old, the vast majority of the Titan bays now lay dark and dormant, or merely used as storage areas for raw materials, whereas once upon a time those many Titans stood sentinel, awaiting their primary reactor to be started, so they can once again stride the battlefield as the ultimate god engines of war they were created to be. And there we have it. That brings us to the end of this video. If you laughed or learnt anything, don't forget to hit that subscribe button, and if you are already subscribed, then don't forget to share this video with somebody who could do with some noob-splaining in their life. Also, leave a comment on your favourite part. I do try and interact with every comment. But if you made it this far, thank you, and I'll see you next time.